Hey friends, it's poetry Pthursday again, 'cause you can't have poetry without alliteration. A Prayer for My Daughter by William Butler Yeats. Once more the storm is howling, and half hid under this cradle hood and coverlid, my child sleeps on. There is no obstacle but Gregory's Wood, and one bare hill whereby the haystack and roof-leveling wind bred on the Atlantic can be stayed. And for an hour I have walked and prayed because of the great gloom that is in my mind. I have walked and prayed for this young child an hour, and heard the sea wind scream upon the tower and under the arches of the bridge, and scream in the elms above the flooded stream, imagining in excited reverie that the future years had come, dancing to a frenzied drum out of the murderous innocence of the sea. May she be granted beauty, and yet not beauty, to make a stranger's eye distraught, or hers before a looking-glass. For such, being made beautiful overmuch, consider beauty a sufficient end, lose natural kindness, and maybe the heart-revealing intimacy that chooses right, and never find a friend. Helen, being chosen, found life flat and dull, and later had much trouble from a fool, while that great queen that rose out of the spray, being fatherless, could have her way, yet chose a bandy-legged smith for a man. It's certain that fine women eat a crazy salad with their meat whereby the horn of plenty is undone. In courtesy, I'd have her chiefly learned, hearts are not had as a gift, but hearts are earned by those that are not entirely beautiful. Yet many that have played the fool for beauty's very self has charm made wise, and many a poor man that has roved, loved, and thought himself beloved, from a glad kindness, cannot take his eyes. May she become a flourishing hidden tree, that all her thoughts may like the linnet be, and have no business but dispensing round their magnanimities of sound, nor but in merriment begin a chase, nor but in merriment a quarrel. Oh, may she live like some green laurel rooted in one dear perpetual place. My mind, because the minds that I have loved, the sort of beauty that I have approved, prosper but little, has dried up of late, yet knows that to be choked with hate may well be of all evil advances chief. If there's no hatred in a mind, assault and battery of the wind can never tear the linnet from the leaf. An intellectual hatred is the worst, so let her think her opinions are accursed. Have I not seen the loveliest woman born out of the mouth of plenty's horn, because of her opinionated mind, barter that horn, and every good, by quiet natures understood for an old bellows full of angry wind? Considering that, all hatred driven hence, the soul recovers radical innocence, and learns at last that it is self-delighting, self-appeasing, self-affrighting, and that its own sweet will is heaven's will, she can, though every face should scowl, and every windy quarter howl, or every bellows burst, be happy still. And may her bridegroom bring her to a house where all's accustomed, ceremonious, for arrogance and hatred are the wares peddled in the thoroughfares. How but in custom and in ceremony are innocence and beauty born? Ceremony's a name for the rich horn, and custom for the spreading laurel tree. The end. So, before we talk about anything else, it is freezing right now, so I thought that this would be kind of like a prop, sort of, because it starts off talking about the cold wind and stuff, but really I'm just really, really cold. William Butler Yeats! I keep wanting to call him Mr. Yeats. But to kind of set the stage, he wrote this in 1919, right after World War I, right in the middle of the height of the Spanish flu that killed so many people that we've been hearing about, the big pandemic. So that's the mindset at the beginning of this poem when he talks about just being so gloomy and blah. It's not just that there's a storm outside. Like, there's an actual, like, oh my god, everything is awful. Kind of feeling just kind of in the world at this point. I mean, I don't know if you, like me, have lived through 2020 and 2021, but kind of get where he's coming from there. I feel like a lot of parents have had this kind of discussion with themselves about, like, oh, when their baby is sleeping, like, oh, I just hope that they grow up to be kind and successful and thoughtful and pretty, but not too pretty. There's no such thing as too pretty. I should know. But I feel like that's kind of a very universal thing for parents. It may seem kind of strange to somebody who hasn't had that experience. This very much resonates with me as a parent, like that kind of like, oh, I just hope you grow up to be, And in the middle, Yeats kind of does the thing that a lot of poets and writers do, where they reference Greek mythology as just kind of a way to make everything more rich. You can just name drop, like, the queen from the spray, that's Aphrodite, and then it just kind of fleshes everything out immediately. And by the queen of the spray is the goddess of love, Aphrodite, and the the bandy-legged smith was Hephaestus, or Vulcan, depending on whether you're going with Roman or Greek. That's what that whole thing was about. He doesn't want his daughter to be as beautiful as Aphrodite. Kind of an okay bar to meet there, Dad. I did find it very interesting that he says that in the same line, in the same stanza, that he wants his daughter to be an anchored tree, like a laurel, like anchored in tradition, set in one place, just be in itself like a tree or whatever. And also like the linnet, which is a very common little bird. And the sentiment of the bird in the tree is a very, like, obviously a bird in a tree is very common. Like, you can look outside and see a bird in a tree. But in terms of symbolism, it kind of contrasts with itself. They're kind of very at odds. Birds are so commonly used as a metaphor for innocence that's very easily, crushed, like how you crush a bird sometimes. That's a thing that people do it, I guess. But it's such an enduring metaphor for innocence and kind of cheerfulness, because birds are always singing. That kind of bright cheerfulness is the kind of thing that you would want for your kid, even if they are rooted in tradition like the laurel tree. In the end, I feel like this is, although I may not agree with him not wanting his kid to be too pretty, because what is that? I feel like this is kind of an understandable wish for your child to be loved by somebody who loves them back, and just to kind of have a well-rounded, happy life. Like trees do, I guess. I'll see you guys next time.